330. How you doing?
Hey, Tim, it's Lucas. I called in about Bill Nye a few days ago.
Yeah, you know what, Lucas? I'm good. Man, this is perfect, Lucas, man. Thank you, bro. Because Eban Kim, who's like he's like, we work very closely together on Bright Path Media, and he's like, great, man. He was telling me, he said, Tim, you need to do a video about Bill Nye and all the pushback he got. And I haven't had a chance to dig through that. What's your comments about Bill Nye?
Well, before I was kind of fast about it, and I didn't give a lot of why I was angry. I just kind of said I was angry at him for lying and for having the corporate, like the CEO of Monsanto, on his panel and only giving a one-sided argument for GMOs on his show and basically doing a propaganda film.
Okay.
But one of the reasons, but if you want specific reasons I'm mad and the counter arguments is one of them is he says that genetic modification happens in nature. And it's well, it's true that, transgenics is possible in nature. It's so rare. It's every few thousand years, and it's not always safe. Sweet potatoes were, the response of a plant in the cucumbit family mixing with a plant in the nightshade family, like a potato, and it created the sweet potato, and it just happened to be edible, and it's really this crazy thing that happened. And if you were to try to do that unnaturally, if you were to try to cross something like that unnaturally, the chances of it being safe are much smaller than the chances of it being toxic or inedible. And he talked about how BT has, and how we've been spraying BT liquids and powders on organic crops for years. And it's sure, we spray botulinum toxin on our stuff, and it's very toxic, but it's a naturally occurring toxin that it occurs in botulism. Whenever you can something improperly,
right.
And it's biodegradable. So if you spray it on your corn and then it rains, it's gone. There's no BT left on the corn. But if you virally insert genetic markers that go in and they change every single cell of the corn, and they change the DNA to produce BT within every single cell, and it's virally introduced, well, then the animals that are eating it and the humans that are eating it are now consuming thousands of times the BT that they would have before. And not only that, but the things that virally insert the genes can now virally insert the BT-producing genes into your gut bacteria and cause your gut bacteria to produce BT and other toxins in your intestines, causing inflammatory bowel disease and Crohn's disease, which just happens to be very common in my family, and I'm genetically predisposed to that.
What's your follow-up, man? What's on your mind tonight? Is it regarding Bill Nye, or something else?
Well, actually, I just kind of wanted to give a little background and how much I appreciate your show and how I found your show. I got into politics back. I knew about Bernie Sanders before he ran for president, and I supported him then. But whenever he ran for president, and I was able to, and I had something I could latch onto and follow up to the minute and get information on, is when I really hopped in. And ever since he announced his candidacy, I've been head in. During the primaries, I watched TYT every night, and then whenever he lost the primaries, and they switched full blown to Hillary, I couldn't watch it anymore. And that's when I found Jimmy Dore being the honest person on the panel, and I switched and just started watching the Jimmy Dore show. And then your show came up in a suggestion on YouTube, and I watched it, and I was like, man, I like this guy. He's just like Jimmy. He tells the truth while also including humor. And it's like you said earlier, it's news for people who hate the news. I can't stand watching people in $6,000 suits tell me what should be relevant to me.
Man, I thank you so much, brother. And you're right, man. Jimmy, did you see Jimmy and I's show together? Did you see that shit?
Yeah, and I loved it.
People still write me, man, saying it was the best news video they've ever seen. Now, some people rate it highly, but some people think it's really highly, the best. And we just had a good time, man. No prep. Just got together and talked it real, man. Just talked about life, talked about news, talked about politics. And had a great time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Look,
Well, that's
Lucas.
I actually have a video I want to suggest to you. There's a channel on YouTube called the Center for Progressive Urban Politics, and while I don't like the label progressive because I think progress is a subjective term, this channel is really good. And they had a panel discussion back in March, and they had 5 guys from around the country from similar circles that are very intelligent. They had Frank Morris, Chris Martenson, James Howard Kunstler, John Michael Greer, and Dmitry Orlov just talk about current events and like future of this country. And when I watched that panel, it's really long. It's 2.5 hours, but your eyes are glued to it because it's real talk. They're being serious. They're not sugarcoating anything. They talk about what there is realistically, what you can realistically be hopeful for, but why toxic optimism is actually dangerous to the cause of like wanting to change things. And it's just a really good real talk about the future.
Well, look, man, I'll check it out, man. Thank you, Lucas. I got to keep it moving, but I appreciate you, brother. He said, check out the Center for Progressive Politics. And you know what? A lot of people talk about progressive, right? So check this out. I like what Zach Haller described progressivism is. He said, it's just willing to break the status quo. It's not progress. Some people say it's progress, and I guess breaking the status quo could be considered progress. But being a progressive is you're willing to break the status quo, which is the normal operation of a system. If you're willing to do that's why we relate to a lot of the Trump people who are like conservatives or whatever, who are waking up on that side and hey, this isn't right. What's this crap? So anyone who wants to break the status quo has a little bit of progressive in them. Doesn't matter who you voted for. That's a core thing. Now, you may make other decisions based on other criteria that factors in, but I think that's really important. We have some people who want to maintain the system the way it is, Hillary supporters, and we have other people who want to break the system. And that's what it is, because when you think about it, that's how you really get a Trump, because he was the break from the system. If you think about it, that's really what it was. And what was Bernie Sanders? He was also a break from the system. And they can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. People want out of the system. They want the system broken. Because it's already, actually it's running the way it should run, the way they designed it to run. We're trying to break that mother.